This is Dave, the Guru, and part 3 of our custom collision animation game project using Gamesalad. So now that we've got our walking and idle prepped, let's start building out the first part of that. So I'm going to go ahead and make an actor, and let me just move this actor up to the top of the window. It makes it a little easier to work on. And we're going to call this actor Spawner. And we'll go ahead into it, and we'll change the color. Let's make it orange. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off movable because I don't need it to move, and I don't want it to sleep. And maybe check my controller too. I don't want this stuff to go to sleep on me. Okay, there we go. I want this stuff to be active all the time. So let's go ahead into our spawner actor. And we're going to start building out some code. So now usually what we're going to do is we'll start with the, let me grab that note. Let's just so we can keep track of what we're doing inside here. Let me go custom behaviors. Let me grab the control list we have here. And we'll go ahead back. And we'll go into our spawner. And we'll grab our control list here and put it up on the top just so we can remember what we're doing. And we're going to go ahead. So let's start with idle. Okay. Start with idle left. So if we come into the situation where we're idling left, we know that when we idle left, move is going to be 1 because let's do that now. We're going to set that to the default as 1. So the move trigger, I'm going to set that as 1. We're never going to see 0. So let's do it that way. So it's always a 1 idle left. So we're going to say when attribute game dot moving trigger equals 1. What we're going to do is, since the idle doesn't have any frames in it, I'm going to use the opportunity of idle to go ahead and make sure that we reset the frame number back to 0. Okay, so we'll start that off. We'll just make sure that we set the frame number as we're counting other frames. We've just come through a series of animations, and we never know whether it went all the way back to 1 or whatever. So we're just going to use this opportunity in an idle position and this is one of the positions where we're going to want to reset the frame number. And there'll be others where we do that too, but idle, definitely, we want to make sure we grab that opportunity to reset the frame number back to 0 since we're only using 1, and we always start with a fresh count, whatever we're doing with our animations in the other types of moves that we're going to do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come down to, we want to spawn our idle actor, and this will be let's see, change attribute and spawn. So spawn actor. So we're going to go ahead and spawn an actor. And since this will already equal 1, we're going to spawn the actor walk. And he is 100 is our left facing. And we want to make sure we spawn this all the way to the front of the layer. If you're in scene, okay, and then let's just finish this part out and then I'll explain something. And so we want to make sure we grab the position game dot hero X and game hero Y. Okay, and then also on the idle, right after we do that, we want to make sure that the game velocity attribute, since we're idling and we're going to manipulate, we're actually going to code in, we're not going to use a move to behavior, so we want to change that game hero velocity to 0. Okay, we want them to just, once we set them, we'll keep them at 0 that way. We could use the pin too. We could toggle the pin on and off, but I'm going to do it with game hero velocity. There are other tweaks if you've got other things going on that you could add into that. I'm trying to keep this simple just so you can kind of get the technique down on this. And so this will do it. So one of the things is I'm spawning to the front of the layer, and you can probably say to me, well, Dave, what if I have, stuff that he's going to be behind? Well, then what you would want to do is go into your scene and your layers, and you would want to create another layer and put this layer above this other one. So this is the layer that we're going to be working in. And then any objects that would be in front of my hero, like grass or bushes or things like that, put it up in this layer, because then when we drag the actors into this layer, this will be the top layer part that the actor will spawn in. Okay, so you can have sandwich layers, so I could add another layer, have my background, call this, let's grab this. Come on, Gamesalad. Doesn't want to. There we go. So we could call this the hero layer, and then our background layer, and then we could call this overlay, our overlay layer. So any grass or anything that we were going to have on there, we would have above it. And we'll do that in this video. I'll show you how we could do that. But if we do it that way, then in the hero layer, we know that when we're spawning to the top, we're only going to spawn as far as this layer. Okay? We'll get that out of the way right now. Just touch on that. So now we can go ahead and we'll grab this and copy it. And we can go ahead, this is all going to be the same. And then for right facing, we know that that's 2, right? Idle right. And we know that he is actually called walk, but it's idle in this. And so we've got all this the same, and we've got all that set up. So now we're going to do our walking left, and we can actually copy this. Let me change this. Let me make sure I identify this so I know what I'm doing in my code. Okay, so now this is going to be our walk left. All right. And so if it equals 2, right? And then what we're going to do is left in Gamesalad, when we're talking about velocity, okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is this. We want to get rid of this. We don't want to reset the frame. And what we're going to do is velocity is in negative numbers going to the left and positive numbers going to the right in Gamesalad. So I'm going to go ahead and change his velocity to -100. Okay, so I'm going to just change that variable. I'm just going to change it because I want to set it to 100. And I want him to just move at 100 speed like a move would in any other kind of situation. And so then what we're going to do is we're actually going to, let's get rid of this. And this is 3, okay, because we're walking left now. So game move trigger is 3, okay. And then what we're going to want to do is we're going to grab an animate behavior. And then I'm going to go ahead and set this to, I've got 7 frames of animation, so I'm going to set it to 7 frames a second. I want to loop it, but I'm not going to restore the actor image when done. And then what I'm going to do is I want the frame count to go into my hero frame variable. And so then what I'll do is I'll come down and grab my walking animation, and I'll just go ahead and grab 1 through 7 in here. Drag it in, just easy. You could use blanks in here to count or do whatever. It's just as easy for this. For me to do this, I'm going to have this actor's visibility set to off. And I've already got the images in Gamesalad, so it's not like I'm really adding anything extra to the game. And so it hasn't showed me a drop in performance, so I'm just going to use this method. It just makes it easier to kind of visualize and keep track of what you've got going on in this. And so that's our walking left. So now what we need to do is start making a rule that does every frame. So we're going to be do the spawning in here, and the destroying is done in the actor itself that we coded that already. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, let's just grab a rule, and we'll drag it up into this walk left, and we will say frame 1. Okay, and we're going to just simply say when attribute game hero frame equals 1. And we're going to go ahead and grab the spawn behavior. Spawn our first actor. Front of layer, relative to scene, at the position that the previous actor gave us to where he was located, hero X. In game, hero Y. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and spawn our first actor walking, which is walk 1. And so now all we have to do is just start a duplication process for 7 more frames. So let's go ahead and just close this stuff up. And we'll go ahead and say frame 2. And then we will go ahead and just grab 2. And see how I ordered everything? I organized everything, and keeping these names and everything ordered really makes this process quicker. And I'm going to change this to frame 2 so I can just keep identifying everything. We'll close that up. Change that to 3. Change this guy to 3. Change this to 3. And 2 more for him. Nice thing is the way that I've built this, I've only got to really do a lot of these things once, because you'll see for the right, it's going to be even easier to go ahead and just be changing one thing. And that's my last frame. I have 7 frames in my walk left situation here. And that should be all of that. So now walk right. We're going to go ahead and duplicate this. And we'll change this to walk right. And we know walk right is 4. And I've also got 7 frames of animation. I'll get rid of them. Keep everything nice and tidy and consistent. And we'll go ahead down to our walk right here. And we'll grab these guys and we'll drag them in. Sequence, yes. All this is the same except the velocity. Now that we're going right, we need a positive number. So we're going to switch the velocity to 100. Okay. And then down here, everything's going to be the same, and we're just going to pick a different actor. So we're going to be at walk 0, 0, 1, because you can see 0, 0, and then 0, 0, 2. Let's close these up as we go. We know what we've done. And then 0, 0, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And so now we've got, let's do a quick save, and we've got our idle left, idle right, and walk left set up. And so now we should be able to go ahead and do some tests on our actor. So let's go ahead. Let me just let me grab a background image here that I have that my partner Dane created for my son when he was doing some stuff with this. And we'll grab our little castle room here. And I'll grab that and I'll bring it up here. Let's just open that up and turn physics off. Bring it in. Just to give us something, a little nice little backdrop to look at while we're doing all this. And we have that all set. And we can start bringing in our actor. So now well, this is where it's going to get critical. So we want to make sure we layer order all this stuff properly. So now let's go ahead and make sure we're on. Let's make sure this is into the background, okay? And make sure we're selected on our hero. So now initially we're going to start facing left. We want to grab this walk guy left facing that we did put the change attributes in. And we actually want to have him first initially, okay? And we'll look at this in a minute. So we'll put him in here. And then what we want is we want our controller next in the layer, and then we want our spawner next in the layer, like this, so that it looks like this in our layer order. So we have this guy, our controller, and then our spawner. And the reason why we're going to start off, actually, we want these guys in this next layer. I don't know why I selected that, but let's get them in that layer. Okay. We're in our hero layer. So initially, right away, we're going to start with this guy at the bottom of the layer like this, because we want those change attributes to feed into this thing first before we get up to the spawner that's looking for that information. So this first one, remember, we got the change attributes that are coming through, going to feed those two variables, okay, right here, to make sure they're not zero. It's going to get some data in there, okay, and then we're going to move on to the we're going to move on to the controller, which is going to give us the number of values filled in for what move we're doing. And then we're going to go to the spawner. But what's going to happen is, once we run this first cycle of movement, this guy is going to destroy, and now everything else will come to the top of the layer, which is fine, because that's how we want it. Because before we come around the loop, this guy is going to report his last position. It's going to come around, look at the controller, see what we've changed, and then spawn, so that we make sure that this guy, and we're actually going to jump the loop here. So we're going to jump in here in between the controller and the spawner with this guy updating his position, and then hit the spawner that's going to spawn it. Okay, and so this is how we're looking at the code, and we've got everything lined up properly, so this works through really well. So let's just give it a test here. And I'll grab some arrow keys, and look, there we go. I got a little flash there, which I didn't have before. Let's see how I layered my other stuff. So I layered the hero. And then let me try this. Oh, I know why. Duh. I moved that guy. Let's try it like this and see what happens. Make sure we get things in sync. I'm not getting that flash in my other one I built. Let me just move the controller and the spawner. I got something giving me an error here. I will have to, let me pause it, and let's take a quick look and see what's going on, because I have another version sitting here, and it doesn't do that. It shouldn't be the controller. Let's check the spawner, see what's going on. Walk left. Scene. Yeah, everything looks good there. Oh, look it. There it is. Look at that. 7. In a rush. See how quickly, and it's probably wrong in my other side too because I copied this. Oh, it's so easy to make a little mistake like that. And there we go. I'm trying to spawn 2 frames. That's why it looked like he was disappearing, because he was destroying. And I was asking for 7. There we go. Oh, he's still flashing. What's going on? Maybe I've got an error somewhere else. That was definitely an error. Well, let's see if we can pinpoint this. Let's do a little debugging together. Let's grab this and let's display. Grab a display text. Let's make sure the frames are going right. So we'll grab game dot hero frame, and we'll drag this out on the scene and see what that looks like. Let's see if I can find the frame by doing it slow. Still looks like it's doing it on that. Oh, there it goes. It cleaned up, unless it's on the left still. Yeah, it looks like it's on frame 7 still. Let me check out what I did wrong in that frame 7. The right is working fine. Oh, I didn't change. Boy, I'm really making all kinds of mistakes. There we go. See how easy it is to have a problem. I rushed and I didn't complete the process. So, but you can see how quickly, I was able to bring in something, and then look at, this is why I really preach compartmentalizing things you're doing and building it, because if this was like a whole big game, I'd be like, why is this doing this? And when you'd be chasing your tail on all these things, and by building each process and each thing step by step and testing it, then I know exactly the code works. And then it limits it down to the last things that I did. So let's go ahead and test this out again. We should be resolved. And there we go. We're walking left fine. And we're walking right fine. So let's go ahead and do this just to test out. Let's test out and make sure our custom collision shapes are right. Let's go ahead, and I got a little enemy guy. Let's go grab our little enemy guy here. And we'll test out our custom collision shapes to make sure we've got all the right shapes in the right places. And so I'll grab my enemy in the idle here, and I'll grab him. Let's bring him in here. And let's go ahead and we'll just uncheck movable on him, and we'll give him better collisions. And we'll take the bounce. We don't want any bounciness off of him. And we will go ahead and we're going to do the collide inside him. So let's grab a collide attribute. And so, this is what we're going to have to do. Since we have so many different actors spawning, okay, we're going to go ahead and make some tags. So let's go ahead and do that right now. This is all going to be tag based. Let's go in our actor. And let's just make a general collide tag first. And this will be just for, we want, like rocks or objects or obstacles that we doesn't care whether the knife or the spear hits it or any of that kind of stuff. We just want this tag for general overview collide for the environment. And so we'll use that one. And we're just going to go ahead and, I thought you could do a command or an option or a control and select all these, but I guess not. Let's go ahead and you can do shift and multiple select. So let's grab all our guys here. We've got all of them, and we'll just throw these guys into our general collide rule for now. And so that will be that. And then we can go into our little dude here, our little enemy knight, and we can say collide with tag collide. And so let's get him on the scene. And I'll line him up with this guy here. And then we'll also put him back here. Did I put his custom collision shape in? I did not. So let me go ahead and grab his custom collision shape. Okay. And we will also just duplicate him. And let's put him over here so we can watch our collisions going in both directions. And we'll go ahead and let's walk up to him. And we can see there's all our, we're going through all our shapes. You can see still moving, and we're not seeing anything unusual. So let's go ahead on to this guy over on this side and make sure that we don't have any wrong custom collision shapes, and we're doing good there. We're all through the cycle through the frames, and there's our let me check our right facing. We'll just pause right there in front of them. Make sure that collision shape's good. And there we go. We've got all our collision shapes. Everything's looking good. Okay. And everything is, that was me. I was hitting the space bar. We don't have any commands in there for that yet. So, although there's an error there. I hit space bar and then I hit the right arrow key. So let's debug that. So let's go ahead and I hit the space bar. And then I hit the right arrow key, which should switch my facing. Facing left. Facing to 1, right arrow key, accuracy is event, right arrow key is down, facing left. Facing right. Let's check our idle right. Facing key is 1, yep. Left, right, up, up, up. Space is up. Right is up. Idle right, right is up, left is up. Self-facing equals 1. So let's go ahead, let's switch this. I'll just unlock this. Let's take a look at the facing. Because it seems we've got something going on there. Game facing. Or actually, I know what it's in, but we'll check it. I bet you it's going to be right. Game facing 0, 1. See, now when I let off, he's stopping. Now when I push again, he's not. So I have an error somewhere in my move 3 controller somewhere. So let's check that out. Move 3, idle right, idle left, walk right. Facing is 1. There we go. As you see how I can make little errors, but you just have to bring some things in to look and see and narrow them down. So now I should be able to hit the space bar, and then yeah, it keeps going. I don't even know how that was working, to be honest with you, but it was. So now see if I hit the right and not move, I can't override. So that'll be another attack that we're going to do in the next video. So there we are. We're debugged. Looking good. Everybody's working good. Spawning, doing everything. Looks just like a regular animation. We're running smooth. We got everything going good. Let me make sure my layers, I ended up setting that stuff back right. I want this like this. So let's make sure. Actually, it's working better with my controller. I can see a little jiggle there. This is the way I did it in the other one, which didn't seem to make sense to me. But I'm going to go ahead and put the controller above the spawner. I think it's getting better hitting. It's getting better hitting that way. Yeah. Well, there's still a little jiggle there. But it's running good. Looks like it's running good. Make sure I save. And so here we are. We've got our first series of animations with custom collisions working. Everything's going good. We got our first scene kind of set up. So in the next video now, we're going to add some attacks. And it's going to be kind of a similar process, but we'll walk through it and making the animations. And then we'll go ahead and build out how we're distinguishing the attacks so that you can track multiple different types of attack and give them different kinds of power to take away the health from these guys. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do in my next video is I'm just going to go ahead and import. Well, I'll do it all with you because I'm only using a couple frames for these. So we'll do them all together. So in the next video, I'll see you. We'll flesh this out a little more with some custom attacks on our enemies and all that. So anyways, this is Dave, the Guru, and I'll see you in part 4 of our custom collision animation video series.